I am set up here to do a preliminary transmitter power test on the 10 gig transverter. So here's the setup. I have the signal generator set to minus 2 dBm power output on 28.1 megahertz, which I know from testing the other day should drive the Anglian transverter to a full rated output of 100 milliwatts or plus 20 dBm on 144.1 megahertz. That's feeding into the IF input of the 10 gig transverter, the Kuhne MKU 10G2, which is rated for plus 23 dBm or 200 milliwatts output at 10 gigs. Running that through a 30 dB attenuator because the power meter can't handle more than plus 10 dBm. And I'll be using the HP 432 power meter here. So let me just turn everything on and enable the push to talk on both of these, which is a little crude. I actually have a power switch for turning them on. But push to talk involves grounding this little lead here by sticking it under the case on that one, and grounding this lead by clipping it onto the case here on the other one. A little bit crude just for initial testing. So let me go ahead and enable the RF drive here, and we'll see what happens. And it's nearly minus 2 dBm, not quite, or nearly minus 2. I shouldn't say dBm, nearly minus 2 on the meter. So that's interesting. Let me just go and disable the push to talks here and turn the power off on these things. That's interesting because I have the meter set for a full-scale reading of minus 5 dBm. Minus 2 or 2 below that would be minus 7 dBm. With the 30 dB attenuator in line, that means the actual power, according to this, is plus 23 dBm, which is full rated output of the transverter. I was not expecting that, since the transverter is designed for a minimum drive specification of 1 watt. Now there is an input drive adjustment trimmer here, which I have turned all the way up. And I realized that the specification might be, 1 watt drive, and they might have figured you wouldn't have that turned all the way up. You'd want to have a little bit of adjustment range. But still, I was not expecting to get full power with 10 dB less drive than it's specified for, which is what I am seeing with only 100 milliwatts in. I'm seeing nearly full power of 200 milliwatts out. So wasn't expecting that. I'm a little curious what's going on. So to try and verify that all of that power is really on 10 gigs, I'm going to take this little bandpass filter, which was nicely tested for me by someone with a VNA a year or so ago, and this should have maybe a dB or so of loss, but it will only pass about a 50 megahertz wide range around 10 368 megs. So let me go offline and put this in line, and then I'll come back and check this power again to see if anything changes. Okay, so I'm back with the same setup as before, except that I've added this filter in line here now on the output of the attenuator. So this should knock down any frequencies, any output that is off frequency. And this filter has, some loss, a fraction of a dB loss, and this little cable I've had to add here, although it's it's theoretically a pretty good cable. At 10 gigs, everything has some loss, so there's going to be a little bit of loss with this system. So let's see what we have for power now with a filter in line, and I'll just reapply power to things. Re-enable the 2 push-to-talks here again. Wish this wasn't quite so crude, but this is a preliminary test. I didn't want to do a lot of work in preparation. So here we are again, and let me just apply drive to this thing, and it's a little below minus 3 now, so it's it's dropped about a dB from before. So well, it wasn't quite calibrated here. Let me just recalibrate the meter there, and hit this again. But yeah, it's it's a little below -3. It's about a dB or 1.2 dB less than before. So still, even if we call it -4 dBm plus 30, that's still that's still what 20. I don't do math very well in my head. It's not -4 dBm either. It's -9 dBm plus 30, so that's plus 21 dBm. Still more power than I was expecting to see out of this transverter with the current drive level. So I was expecting to have to modify the input attenuator to see this much output. I do have confidence that it's all on frequency with that filter in line, and I have a reasonable degree of confidence that this attenuator is at least close to 30 dB. I've measured it at lower frequencies up to 2 gigs, and it seems very, very close. So it's a curiosity at this point. Is about all I can say. And let me just turn things back off here. A curiosity. So it is working, just more power than I expected. I guess at this point I'll go ahead and, when I get the parts that I'm waiting for, modify the input attenuator so I'll have a little more adjustment range, and just revisit this and see if it can be turned up anymore or not, and see what I think about it then.